Guantanamo. Guantanamo Bay. They are shipping undocumented people, including children, to Guantanamo Bay. Now you might be wondering, Shayna, yes, that's so unfortunate, but like, what does that have to do with this channel? I got you. It's really not that complicated. We're going to be looking at a couple of different articles in the beginning of this, and then I'm going to break down some other unfortunate information that entails, because this affects so many more people than just undocumented folks. First, we're going to start off with a Politico article. President Donald Trump's plan to use Guantanamo Bay to detain migrants thrusts the Pentagon into a challenging, costly new effort, just as officials vowed to refocus the military on its core mission. The recent executive order to move thousands of non-citizens to an aging military base in Cuba came as a shock to the Pentagon. Thousands are now rushing to come up with a plan to house up to 30,000 people, far more than the 780 detainees who stayed at the detention camp on the base during the peak of the war on terror. We will be talking about that shortly. Defense Department officials are discussing using tents, although they face the challenging tropical weather, limited staff, and access to medical treatments for migrants. And they are attempting to balance resources and finances with another Trump order that troops head to the southern border to enhance security. Things are moving as we speak, one defense official. We're skipping down a little bit. My Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, has the detention capacity for about 40,000 people. The nation's largest ICE facilities have roughly 2,000 beds, much smaller than the major undertaking Trump has proposed. Tom Homan, Trump's border czar, said Wednesday that ICE would run an expanded facility on Guantanamo, but it's not yet clear what specific role the military would play, although active duty troops have historically guarded Guantanamo. The Pentagon could also operate flights to bring people to the base. So one, it's giving mega concentration camp, right? But also, for those who might not know, what is Guantanamo? It's been talked about. It's a term that a lot of people haven't heard in U.S. society, but what actually is it? Let's just focus on this from the ACLU because I think it breaks it down pretty succinctly. Originally intended to be an island outside the law where terrorism suspects could be detained without process and interrogated without restraint, tortured, the prison and military commissions at Guantanamo Bay are catastrophic failures. At home and around the world, Guantanamo has become a symbol of injustice, abuse, and disregard for the rule of law. Since the prison camp opened in 2002, almost 800 men and boys have passed through its cells. In addition to unlawful detention, many were subjected to torture and other brutal treatment. Today, 41 men remain, nearly all held without charge or trial. Dozens of these detainees have already been cleared for release by the U.S. military and national security agencies. Although President Barack Obama increased his efforts to transfer some of these men, they continue to be stuck in a quagmire in which no arm of government is willing to end the violation of their rights, and Guantanamo's blight to our nation's reputation and security. Now, I will not go into the details of this on here, but I will include the links in the description in case you would like more information. But the Center for Victims of Torture have so much information about Guantanamo that they've separated it into sections. They have an overview that talks about the nearly 800 Muslim men and boys that were brought over there because of the war on terror. Makes its way all the way down to ongoing harms, the men who remain in Guantanamo, the failed military commissions, and ideally, how to close Guantanamo. But that last one clearly isn't happening anytime soon. So this is a concentration camp. Let's just call a thing what it is. We're not Lord Voldemorting or like he who shall not be naming our way around here. Let's call a thing a thing. This is a concentration camp, right? Will this be a labor camp? Will this be a death camp? Will it be who knows? But it's a concentration camp, right? So historically speaking, because that's all we're doing on here, we're just repeating history that we don't need to be repeating. Historically speaking, these camps don't just house the marginalized community that they're said to be housing. They house the people that speak up for them. They house the people that try to help house them. They help the people that try to protect them. Historically, looking back at Yahtzee Germany, that has happened. And guess what? Even if you're outside of that, these kinds of camps have also housed queer people and marginalized people of color. They're planning on expanding this by tens of thousands of not just beds, of tents in the middle of the Caribbean, in the midst of global warming, where there are hurricanes and earthquakes and wild things happening more now than ever before. And they're giving them tents. They're planning for tents. Now, I really want us to conceptualize to really just like let it sink in. Not in a way that it gives you so much fear that you pause all of your movement, all of your actions, all of your activism. But like when people say it's not that bad, we need to be armed with information, right? Why am I saying all of this? Because as the movement of decentering men and child-free living, and I don't want a man in my life, I don't need a husband, I don't want kids, nothing feels safe, I just stay away from me, the 4B movement, just back up. There will be a push towards dissenters finding their way into spaces where they can be controlled by the military, where they can be controlled by whoever the government says they should be controlling them. Historically speaking, this is a thing that has happened, and all of those steps towards that happening are currently happening. They have deported citizens in the past. I have that video up here. They are trying to deport citizens now. They are, the link here, which I think might be a post that I have somewhere on the community page. They are also trying to detain Native Americans. Like ICE is trying to detain Native Americans, which is like wild. But this is what I'm saying. It defies logic. There's no way to say, oh, they did A and then B and then C is going to happen. I mean, like, yes, we're watching history play out, but like the hard left turns that they're making cannot be planned. I had another thought. Let me try and grab it again. Basically, all of those things that you think could potentially make this administration say, oh, well, you know, like, we'll let her go. Don't even worry about that. White women, your white womanness will not save you from this. Historically speaking, this young woman was one of the most famous cases, as history tells it, but a lot of people don't even know her. I think she was 19 when she was killed for speaking out against Nazis, right? One of many. They're coming for all of us. We tried. We laid, almost black, we tried to. There's only so much I can, like, we told you so's that we can do at this point. Listen, black ladies, if you want to keep I told you sewing, just keep I told you sewing. I'm not saying that you need to stop. What I am also saying is that shit will continue to hit the fan, whether they've realized it or not. Community. Safe, confirmed community is how we survive this. Now, we know how to do that. A lot of other people don't know how to do that. And they need to learn how to do that quickly. And for those that have voted for this, that are now, listen, the leopards are having a buffet. There's just a whole bunch of faceless people out there. And leopards just tapping their, arguably they, there's no space for jokes on this right now, Shayna. Learn how to build community. Learn how to figure out how safe you are and who other safe people are. because you need to know how much you can be trusted in order to know how much other people can be trusted. And I got a video about that coming right up, because your kids, you don't know who's in your kids' schools.